Thank you, Chairman, and I want to congratulate all the nominees. Thank you for your service. One thing that often comes up in my conversations with our partners in the Indo-Pacific, Ambassador Smith, is the perceived lack of focus in so much of our communications with our partners, especially in the economic and commercial space. There are bright spots, tech diplomacy, supply chain resiliency activities, and others, but I continue to perceive a certain lack of focus when it comes to our economic diplomacy. When we do act, we risk leaving our allies confused, sometimes frustrated by inconsistent policies. I would cite IPEF and the zero progress on market access because we haven't made that a priority in part. How do you think, Ambassador, that our lack of a clear market-driven trade agenda hinders our ability to be competitive in the Indo-Pacific?
Well, thank you very much, Senator Young. I know we were able to have a conversation about this some weeks ago, which I appreciated. I am in full agreement with you that the economic piece of our Indo-Pacific strategy has to be front and center to everything that we do in the region. We have a multifaceted strategy, but I would argue that the economic piece is really at the foundation of that strategy. I would agree with you that we could do more. I think we could be more transparent, more consistent in our messaging. We want to make sure that we don't leave allies and partners confused because in reality, allies and partners have to be a key cornerstone of everything we do on the economic front. The strategy simply won't succeed if we don't bring them along. So if confirmed, let me commit to doing more in the economic space in the Indo-Pacific and making sure that we don't leave any allies and partners confused about our intentions or what the overarching strategy is.
Thank you. I think one of the things we've come to appreciate in a fairly short period of time and in recent years has been the connection between our economic imperatives, our economic priorities on one hand, and our sort of broader strategic and security concerns on the other, and those are deeply linked. But there are some urgent, sort of strictly security gaps that we're attempting to fill. We need to keep resourcing the Taiwanians with armaments that we have promised them, for example. Many other priorities across the Indo-Pacific. What steps would you counsel to help push back against the PRC's coercive security practices and support deterrence in the region?
Well, Senator, this is a classic play on the part of the Chinese. The PRC, as you well know, regularly relies on economic coercion, and we have to push back on that in a whole multitude of ways. First and foremost, we have to make sure that countries don't find themselves in a position where they are at risk of economic coercion. So we have to provide them with alternatives, make investments. We've worked with the G7 on this to make sure that countries have the resources they need for their own economic prosperity. But we also have to call out the Chinese on what they're doing and make sure that countries like Lithuania, for example, that has experienced an enormous amount of economic coercion on the part of the Chinese, that we come to their aid and support. And we've worked with the EU on that hand in glove.
Thank you. Ms. Hallett, in 2016, Bahrain joined Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries in severing diplomatic ties with Iran after the Iran-backed terrorist attack on the Saudi embassy in Tehran. In recent months, we've seen efforts by Bahrain and Iran to reestablish diplomatic relations, which is troubling considering Iran's support of Hamas's October 7 terror attacks. Ms. Hallett, how do you view this possible official re-engagement between the countries?
Senator, thank you for the question. Certainly, the Bahrainis have, as I understand, have been quite forthcoming with us about why they are pursuing diplomatic engagement with Tehran. Like every other GCC country, they want to be able to have an opportunity to de-escalate tensions as they rise, address situations that come up, and are very clear-eyed about the threats that emanate from Iran, especially inside of Bahrain, related to Iranian interference in domestic affairs and their plotting.
So as ambassador, what concrete actions will you take to prevent Iran's growing malign regional influence and, in particular, its destabilizing activities in Bahrain?
Senator, thanks for the question. It's a concern that I share. Certainly from my perch in Jerusalem, I have seen firsthand the impacts, the profound impacts of Iran's support for terror, interference, disinformation, and the like in Israel and around the region. I think it's critical that we continue to strengthen the relationships between the Abraham Accord partners, the United States and Israel, and expand those partnerships as much as possible, strengthen our commitment with Israel and with Bahrain, and deliver on the commitments we have made, for example, in the Comprehensive Security, Integration, and Prosperity Agreement that we signed a year ago, to be able to isolate Iran and its proxies and support Bahraini security.
Coming to the end of my time here, I recognize that, Chairman, if I could just add on the economic front, there's tons of opportunity, as I'm sure Ms. Hallett is aware, in the U.S.-Bahraini relationship. We have a free trade agreement. They host military presence, but bilateral trade volume is only $2.85 billion in 23. I think that presents real opportunities for our country moving forward.
Senator, I couldn't agree more. And something, if confirmed, I would commit to deepening between the United States and Israel our trade and economic ties, which CICIPA has two major components committed to that, that I would seek to continue the great work that's been done over the last year.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
You just reached the end of your time. That was perfect. Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Ambassador